Afternoon, everyone. Mike here from Infinity Air Heating and Cooling, and today we're going to have a quick little lesson and guide on brazing and proper brazing techniques, and how to braze correctly. So first thing you do is obviously make sure there's nothing on top of the unit, and this has nothing to do with brazing, but it has everything to do with don't put things on top of the unit where it will scratch it all up, because then you'll have a brand new unit full of scratches and it will be not quality. So you hear me say that a lot. Don't put things on top of the unit. Put them everywhere that there is a mass amount of room everywhere in the entire country, universe, world to put things. Don't put it on the smallest little brand new appliance directly in front of you. So word of the wise. Anyway, so obviously, like I said, you wouldn't go get a brand new car and then buy a bunch of new radios and lights and spinning rims and then throw them all on top of the car while you're working on it, would you? No, because it'd scratch your car all up. So anyway, rant over. So every now and then you gotta throw a rant in with a lesson. So here's idea is to, obviously you want to pipe everything in, indoor, outdoor, before you start brazing, which is the key component to brazing correctly. Is everything has to be piped in before you can start, because obviously there's nowhere to flow braze or nitrogen if you don't have it piped in. So that's step one. So then after everything is all piped in, what you're going to do is you're going to take your gauges, you're going to hook up your gauges, hook them up to your shraders, and take your shraders out. You'll see your little shraders. See that little clear looking seal? Yeah, that melts very fast. So don't have your shraders in there when you braze. And it's fairly simple and straightforward to take the shraders out. You just get yourself a Klein 11-in-1, which has a shrader puller at one of the ends. You take the cap off, you stick it in there, and you take it out. So anyway, that's that. And then you hook up your gauges. Low side, blue side goes to low side, red goes to high side. That's your liquid line and your suction line. Suction line is your low pressure, liquid line is your high pressure. So high pressure, low pressure, as you can see the difference. So then you have your service port, which is yellow, comes to your tank. Okay, so when you turn your tank on, that's one of the big key components too to making it work right. So obviously having the tank on. So now you have your tank on, you can do certain things. So we talked about piping it all the way in. So right now everything's piped here, and we're gonna make a couple of difficult brazes that if that was underneath, which I like to put them, you know, tucked a little bit so they're a little cleaner looking and all that. Some people put them right on top, whatever. Preference on this as well is inside or outside. I prefer them somewhat inside usually, just not right directly on top of the air handler. But if you can't get it into a good position, and it'd be more beneficial to have it in the horizontal position outside than it would be in the vertical position inside in a tight area. So in this case, it was in a closet, difficult to get to, so I put it outside. So I have everything piped in, and I'm actually going to trickle braze through here, which will braze through the whole deal and come out this side. So we are still nitrogen everything without this being turned on, you know, piped into here yet. So we're going to trickle nitrogen through here, make these two brazes, and then we'll put that all underneath, tuck it up, bring it up, land it in there, and then turn the tank back on, and so on and so forth. So this is perfectly acceptable if you have a tough one, as long as one side is piped all the way in and all the way through and all the way back out to the side that you're actually brazing. So now what you want to do is, once you're at that whole setup, is obviously this is where our nitrogen is hooked up. So we're going to turn on a little bit of nitrogen, and we're going to trickle the tiniest little bit of nitrogen through here, and you're going to hear it ever so slightly. And let me tell you, it's within a half a psi, so you're not really going to hear much. You'll kind of almost put it up to your ear. You can like feel it but not hear it, but hear it, you know, ever so slightly. And that's the idea. If you have too much nitrogen, what'll happen is it'll start bubbling, and it'll bubble the braze as the braze liquefies and goes inside, and those bubbles will create micro leaks. You don't want that. Obviously, if you don't have enough nitrogen, you're gonna have carbon flaking inside. So that's you know, the idea is, you know, to get it just to where it just barely, so you can see like there you're showing like a half a psi, And you can probably hear, if you can hear, that's entirely too much, because this does not equal an actual half a psi inside there. You're talking about a significant amount more. So off, half psi inside the line. It's actually happening. That's all it takes. And you can probably just barely hear it or see it and feel it. And that's what you braze. So I'm going to end this video and start another one. And this is how the setup of the brazing is started. Oh, actually before I end that, ragging off the king valves. This is a very, very important step too that a lot of people don't like to do. Get a cold, wet cloth. I use Bounty paper towels because they rock and they're easy and, you know, don't catch on fire like cloths like to. So cold, wet, you know, get them good and wet. As you can see, it's not dripping, but it's pretty wet. And just simply wrap it all around this deal. Don't get moisture inside where you pulled your Schrader, so pull your Schrader, hook this up first, and then wrap this all around so you don't get moisture inside of it, because that is a no-no. But it keeps it cool, because just like your Schraders, there is also a seal inside that valve, and if you melt that seal, it will leak, and then it will be an absolute nightmare to braze on top of a leak. So every single thing from here on out will be a nightmare with it. So rag that off, keep it cool, don't let that get hot. Get this hot, not that. So that's the basic setup of how you braze to get prepared for, you know, prep for braze, and how you trickle and purge nitrogen. So now that we got our nitrogen flowing, we're going to go ahead and braze. So stay tuned for that. Stay cool to infinity.